Hey guys, some gamer dude here. With this year's Toy Fair, we saw Hasbro finally give G.I. Joe its big return with G.I. Joe Classified. While 2019 was the first year since the 90s without a figure period, we haven't seen a normal line in years. 2016 marked the end of any retail presence with the end of the Toys R Us shared exclusive 50th anniversary line, while 2013 marked the end of a normal retail release with the second film, G.I. Joe Retaliation. G.I. Joe Classified marks a massive change to the brand in that the toys are now 6 inches, instead of the 3.75 or 4 inches that has largely been standard since 1982. This isn't the first time this has happened. The original 1960s action figure was 12 inches, Sigma 6's main line was 8 inches, Sergeant Savage was 4 inches, and Extreme was 5. But this is the first time since 1994 that it looks like the scale we've known and loved G.I. Joe for since 1982 might be going away. Except it might not be going away completely. Walmart listings point in the direction of a return to O-ring 1980s toys, of all things, to go with the recent slew of nostalgic reissues and remakes for Transformers, Star Wars and Ghostbusters. Besides that, I do feel the need to point out this isn't the first time restarting for more modernised figures has been put to us by Hasbro. New Sculpt, Modern and even Pursuit of Cobra all ushered in replacing older toys. Modern isn't even compatible with old classic vehicles. So enough with the old, let's talk about the new era of G.I. Joe. I'm going to talk about the articulation improvements, then each figure individually in terms of design. It's actually quite striking to me how much more articulation these have over the 4-inch Modern, as I wasn't really expecting it. I don't collect 6-inch toys as a general rule, let alone Hasbro ones. Not a Marvel or Star Wars guy. Starting with the torso, the head is on a ball joint as per norm, but the neck now has additional articulation at the ball joint, giving a wide range of movement at the head. Not only this, the neck has articulation too, resulting in a fairly realistic range of movement we've never seen at 4 or 12 inches in G.I. Joe. Moving down, the actual torso articulation is extremely different to what we're used to. The waist has a ball joint in it, not dissimilar in function to the old O-ring and quite similar to what the modern core figures from Lanard are doing. But in addition to this, we have an ab crunch built into the abdominal muscles. While I appreciate the attempt to hide the joint and know it's standard for 6-inch Hasbro toys, I find the ab crunch to be intrusive visually. It's not a deal breaker, but I do think it looks much worse than Modern Joe's joints just below the diaphragm. Moving on to the arms, but sticking with the body, we now have additional joints in the shoulders, allowing the shoulders themselves to move backwards and forwards for more realistic posing. The arms themselves are mostly the same with the exception of new double jointed elbows, and for Snake Eyes at least, the hands are now made to be replaced. The legs also start with the body. They include new drop-down hip joints under the body to give a wider range of movement. In addition to that, we now have a swivel at the thigh under the hip. Seam is a bit unsightly though. Double jointed knee, new swivel at the boot cut, and ankle articulation. Foot goes up and down and has an ankle rocker, what we've grown accustomed to at the end of Modern, but the ankle rocker seems a lot better to me. Overall, this is definitely a massive improvement over what we've grown accustomed to. Yes, the ab crunch is more than a bit iffy. We'll tackle it more when we talk about individual designs, and I can't say I care for the visual pins in the new double jointed elbows, but I'm sold on it. If you want to watch a review of Snake Eyes that shows off his articulation, I recommend TMN 978 Snake Eyes review. I'll put a link in the description. So now I've covered the articulation, let's move on to the character designs, starting with the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes was said by Hasbro designers to be an amalgamation of many older Snake Eyes designs while trying to put a new spin on it. I definitely see it. This figure is very much Retaliation Snake Eyes with the armor. Webgear gives me Renegades vibes, along with this color scheme that is in the vein of both versions 3 and 15. The weapons, especially the backpack, are mostly inspired by version 2. I didn't think I'd really need another Snake Eyes after version 54. I was thoroughly bored of both Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow after a constant stream of them in the new sculpt and especially modern eras. I still think I prefer version 54 to this, biased towards Commando Snake Eyes, but I like what's on offer. I think it comes down to this Snake Eyes successfully doing what it tried to achieve. it's a hybrid design. The head is definitely Ninja Snake Eyes, but from the neck down, it evokes more of a commando feel. It's bulky, covered in web gear, pouches, holsters, sheaths, and grenades. While Snake Eyes has looked like this during the Joe vs. Cobra era, it's not his default look. It's not that sleek, black, or black and grey ninja. I think the body and gear would suit the Commando head better, but I do like the nods to the original Commando head with the mouthplate having vents. I actually really like the colour scheme too. It retains the black but breaks it up with browns and silvers on his visor, web gear and straps. More the silvers than the browns. They make the figure pop. It's really eye-catching and appealing. It's not like these colours haven't been done on Snake Eyes before, but they're usually a bit gaudy. They're done well here. This is by far the best use of brown on a Snake Eyes ever. It largely fits, it doesn't clash. They blend in nicely with the black. What I don't like about the colour scheme doesn't seem to be noticeable in all lights, but his pants aren't black. They're a really dark olive. While it makes sense to some degree, I guess, I just hope this isn't on the retail release, as I'm not a fan. Snake Eyes' accessory set seems most inspired by version 2 of the figure. Backpack, sword and Uzi, all direct references, with the sheath being an expansion of it. In addition to this, you get a handgun with silencer that work in the same way as Snake Eyes version 54. You also get some additional hands, a weapons rack, and a slew of ninja weapons like axes, sais, and the like. Can't say I care for the magnitude of gear here. I'm the type that likes my figure to be able to hold everything, but I know others appreciate it. I think Snake Eyes benefits from being the first in a new line of G.I. Joe and not a new 4-inch toy. Regardless of your needs and wants, there are definitely better 4-inch toys visually. This toy may be replaced in a year or two from now with a more traditional Snake Eyes. Even the unseen as of writing 02 Snake Eyes may replace it for some people, but it's a really solid Snake Eyes. It achieves what it sets to do rather well and is a fantastic opener for the line. I have very mixed feelings about Roadblock. Roadblock is primarily based on Roadblock version 2, as can be seen in his armour being a direct copy with more subdued colours. But I don't think it's visually interesting to look at. I really miss the white shirt and pants to brighten up the colours of the figure. Roadblock is primarily dark green, black, his dark brown skin tone, with dull red and grey paint apps, and just a bit of gold concentrated onto his shins to break it up. The gold is not in the right places to do what it needs to do, make the figure more visually interesting. He desperately needs his white t-shirt at the very least. The colours all meld into each other, and I don't think it works as well as it should. It's actually really reminiscent of the original Roadblock version 1, which uses a lot of earth tones and shows a lot of skin. But I think that figure works better than this does too. Roadblock version 1 used black to contrast the green and skin tone. The black, being very black and glossy, did its job. The green, red and grey all feel the same here. I don't think it's helped by the skin tone. Roadblock has never been this black before, and I think the darker the skin tone, the brighter the clothes need to be. 25th Stalker is one of my favourite figures visually because his dark skin tone is contrasted by his bright green fatigues and black web gear. Probably helps I like Stalker a lot too. But we don't know what Roadblock has under the armour though. Maybe without the armour, he looks better. A lot of comments have been made about the gold armour on the shins I mentioned earlier. People don't like this as a running theme in the line. I don't mind. I think it adds some flair to the figures otherwise desperately needed. Roadblock's new facial hair has grown on me. It's not the first time Roadblock has had more of a beard than his traditional moustache, but I think this is one of the best looks he's had since the original. Never liked Resolute's handlebars or Renegade's mutton chops. Not a big fan of facial hair in general, but I think I can live with this. Its clean kept turn doesn't look silly or creepy. I do like the head sculpt. I think it's a nice realistic take on the Sunbow look for Roadblock. Roadblock comes with a futuristic large gun, a knife and an ammo clip. We're not sure what it's supposed to be, a railgun or a machine gun. He's a heavy machine gunner normally. There is a lot of ire about this gun and I get it. I think something more traditional with a sci-fi touch, much like the other figures in this line, versus this purely futuristic romp would have been much better, but I'm largely fine with it. So long as he can hold it, it's big, and it's not a minigun, I'm okay. I don't like Roadblock with a minigun. I see that more of his cousin Heavy Duty's thing. Roadblock's colour palette really needed some more work in my opinion, but the mold is pretty good and feels like Roadblock. I like this realistic take. It feels like a really unique direction and it's pulled off very well. Even with all my complaints about the dreary, boring colour scheme, I like Roadblock. There is not a figure in this wave I don't like. I just don't think that he's eye-catching enough and could have used more influence from the Roadblock toy he takes the most influence from. While I was preparing this video, an image of 02 Snake Eyes was shown, a particularly blurry one. It's fully black with silver paint apps, unlike the Pulse exclusive, which I think was expected. It's hard to say anything, the picture is terrible, but I reckon it'd look much nicer than the Pulse exclusive. The extra set of hands is gone, which I kind of expected, but more surprisingly, we may have a variant. Again, hard to tell since the picture is so bad, but the figure on the left seems to have a different head, and his gun may be a revolver instead of a standard handgun. Maybe clearer images will surface before this video goes up, but I sure hope this isn't the case. The figure was made with the expressed goal of merging multiple designs. Straight up having a version 1 Commando head variant flies in the face of that. I did say I do prefer the Commando head, which I do, but if they're going to go with this, I think they should have just gone with a more straight Commando toy and a more straight Ninja toy, using web gear and heads to separate the two. The designs have always had more differences than just the heads. I do suspect it's just the image and this isn't a variant. If it is, I'm a little annoyed they just didn't pack both heads in like version 54 did, and it means I have to buy an extra figure. Nevertheless, it looks like I was right. The Pulse exclusive is already pretty much replaced outside of accessories. This colour scheme is a more traditional Snake Eyes and is going to be more desirable for most people. Destro seems to be the most popular design in the fandom for being so close to the original design. He's pretty much the original design with more detail, and that's precisely why I find him to be the most boring figure so far. I pretty much already own this in 4 inches. It's essentially a scaled up 25th figure with more detail. I understand why many people would like that, and it's not like this figure is a dud, it's just that, unlike what I believe many people want, I don't want to restart for the same designs, but bigger with more detail. I want something new. The only new thing this one does is its cute man with the golden gun reference. I could have gone for more colour here. Maybe the orange shoulder pads and jacket lining of 92 Destro, or the cape of Iron Grenadier Destro. Just something to differentiate it so that it isn't just another 83 Destro. I was frankly disappointed when I saw it. It's just so bland, uninteresting, and is a case of been there, done that, what else you got? If I was to say anything positive about the figure, it's the head sculpt. Like the line as a whole, it's really good. It doesn't have the robotic angular look of the 50th figure, instead looking like a more detailed and larger 25th head, which I find nice. I think a chrome head would have made this figure pop a bit better, but the metallic plastic does look nice. I'll also say in Destro's favour that he hides the ab crunch very well, probably the best of the line so far. Given a lighter figure is hurt by the ab crunch, this is a massive point for Destro. Destro comes with his golden gun, which again is cute. His original laser gun of all weapons, given a slick new red paint up. Never noticed that Destro in the modern era has never come with his original gun. Good on them for doing that. He also comes with a briefcase, which now contains a small computer and stacks of money, all painted. Again, I get the appeal. It's a good figure. It's just that with everyone else they try to do something new or incorporate multiple designs. With Destro, it's 1983 Destro in all his black glory. Not even the red and silver really stand out. It actually manages to be less visually interesting than both the 25th and the vintage toy. I know it's the contrarian opinion, but he's my least favourite from the wave. He's not interesting. Duke may very well be the most interesting figure in the line for me, mostly because of his melon. Duke has never had a consistent look. His card art, original toy, and Sunbow animation model were all fairly different, the toy being a far sight softer than the animation model or card art. 25th Duke and figures in that line was a nice middle ground between all of these. As the modern era went on, Duke seemingly got older and older looking. The man is meant to be about 34. The final Duke that Hasbro did looks a fit mid-40s to me. Then we get a 6-inch Duke, and like Scarlet, figure number 5, I was surprised how young looking Duke was. Instead of being the mid-30s guy he was, or the 40s guy that made him into, he looks late 20s. He looks young with a current haircut, and surprisingly, it works. I'm not even huge on Duke as a character, but I really like the look of this figure. I think the detail in the head goes a long way with this too. He's very high detail and looks amazing for a retail action figure. He really does show how much more detail you can pack in when you have a larger canvas. It's a really striking and appealing head sculpt to me. I think it says a lot that I didn't even notice the colour changes to the pants when I first saw this figure. It just invokes a modernization of Duke version 1 so well. They changed his pants from an olive green to black. Still has his sandy brown button-up shirt, but now it's broken up by black on his shoulders and a metal elbow pad on his left arm. It's broken up by a lot of things actually. Duke has gloves now, which I believe may be Snake Eye's hands and thinking back roadblocks. His gloves are black with red highlights. There is also his bandolier, belt and holster, which are all cast in green and painted with metal highlights. It really helps to make the figure visually interesting. I think the black pants also make the brown shirt stand out too. The legs have new armour on his shins and knees in a brassy gold colour along with gunmetal and blue highlights. I don't think they're distracting or out of place at all. As I said with Roadblock, I'm okay with the armour. If I had any complaint with Duke, it's the ab crunch. It's most notable and most intrusive with Duke as it breaks up his shirt badly. But this isn't the first time. The diaphragm articulation on modern figures hurt Duke a lot too. Duke's weapon layout is very similar to his original toy. Backpack, binoculars, rifle and handgun, the latter of which seems to be futuristic in shape and colour schemes. The only thing missing from the original toy is his helmet, and I think that might actually be for the best. The toys always look better without them, and I honestly wouldn't want to cover up his head sculpt with anything. I didn't expect it as I'm not big on Duke as a general rule, but Duke is probably one of my favourites from the wave on a purely visual level. He's Duke, he's got way more detail and he's bigger, but he also does something new and it works. Honestly, I think he's by far the best Duke they've ever done, mostly due to the modified colour scheme. I think the black on the pants and the shoulders really makes the figure pop, and the head sculpt is amazing. And here we have the best Scarlet Hasbro has ever made. No point in mincing words or anything, it's the best Scarlet. Scarlet has had a rough trot in the modern era especially. The 25th figure had bow legs and an arched back. Then everything after her was a gimmick or a specific rendition that had its own set of issues. She never got a true update or an ultimate like the Baroness did, nor did the 25th figure really work as well as Lady J's figures did. Older figures were held back by the limitations of their eras. This means Classified had the opportunity to really impress, and it sure did. The most striking thing about Scarlet is her head. For starters, she has a really young face with freckles. She's never looked quite this youthful or had freckles before, but she has a really pretty face. Very appealing. But I think it's the hair that's more striking. The natural orange hair and its styling helps this figure not only look better, but stand out. I think it really puts it over the fake-looking darker red most Scarlet figures use. Redheads are either a bright orange like this Scarlet and Outback, more of a burned look like Sunbow Covergirl, or what is called strawberry blonde, a reddish tint of blonde. Scarlet's traditional super red hair comes from a bottle. The orange has been done before in Renegades and Valor vs. Venom, but they didn't stick with it, which is a shame since Valor vs. Venom Scarlet is an amazing design in general. Scarlet's body is actually a fairly impressive update of the original, while keeping in theme with the new line. Noticing it now, there is a uniform look with these figures in the black pants. Scarlet, Roadblock and Duke all have them. Those Scarlets have red on the outside. I quite like this as an expanded nod to the original 13, and trying to give a more cohesive look among the team, along with the golden armour, but the figures do retain their original individuality. Though this does have me worried about characters whose look could be radically shifted with the black pants, like Stalker. I am terrified about what they'll do to Stalker for a few reasons actually. But back to Scarlet. Everything else is a nod to the original. The unitard becomes gold and yellow body armour. Many don't like the gold. I think it's eye-catching. She retains a red strap on her right shoulder, but the left shoulder's grenade is replaced with a shoulder pad. Again, complaints about asymmetrical armour, I'm fine with it. Under her armour, she retains the blue shirt from the original. I think what is noticeable is that she doesn't use the ab crunch hinge of the men. Instead, she seems to use two ball joints. I think she actually looks much better than the men like this, and wish she was the norm. Yellow gauntlets with ninja stars on the left gauntlet stay, but now have gold and blue, as do her boots. Finally, she comes with her classic crossbow and 3 small knives, that only one of which she may be able to store on a strap across her chest that has a quiver and a knife sheath. This strap is black with red paint applications. I swear the strap is upside down, as her knife handle points downwards, and more importantly, so do her arrows. They're gonna fall out. I don't have much to say with Scarlet. She has a nice face, good proportions, and looks pretty much like what I'd hope an update to Scarlet would look like. I think she works really well as a whole, though I do understand why the golden chestplate could be seen as gaudy. She does have a bit more of a superhero vibe than a fantasy soldier vibe, which I assume is deliberate. I do feel this should have been scaled back a tad. The superhero vibe is a bit too strong. But I think her head and proportions are her biggest appeals though. If I have any complaints, it's that this figure incorporated nothing of Ninja Force Scarlet. No green, no nunchucks, no tiger claw, no sword, nothing. As someone who's a big fan of Ninja Force and likes figures such as Scarlet version 4 from Valor vs. Venom that uses the green and brings the ninja weapons to the table, it does disappoint me. Especially since Snake Eyes was made with the goal of incorporating multiple versions. I'd say hopefully later, but with Modern it was a con exclusive and frankly it looked pretty bad. Maybe since these figures are a bit more colourful and toyetic, for lack of a better term, Ninja Force Scarlet is a more realistic hope here, or at least something like version 4. I've already pre-ordered my wave of set 1 and am very impressed with what's on offer. Even the figures I find boring like Destro or a bit too over-designed like Scarlet, I still like them a lot. I hope this line does well and I want to see it continue. I know I generally don't talk about toys, but with current affairs, talking about card games I really can't play has been a massive downer. So I want to talk about something else I really love and am really looking forward to. I hope interlacing the normally scheduled programming with my other interests doesn't bother you too much. This has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.